Hello and welcome back to the MLB DFS Slate Breakdown for Monday, September 16th. We have 8 games on FanDuel, 9 games on DraftKings. For some reason, FanDuel decided to not add my Padres game, even though it is a start 2 minutes after the last game of the 8-man slate, or 8-game slate. So whatever, we got 8 games on one, 10 on another, and we will dig right into it. We are going to skip the winning lineups from yesterday, as I don't have either the winning lineup on DraftKings or FanDuel. So before we get into it, please come join us at LineStar. $39.99 per month gets you access to everything we do, all the props, all the DFS. You get it all. Let's go. All right, so we got 4:10 Pacific time start, 7:10 East Coast start, and 9 games on good old DK, and the highest owned pitcher is Sean Manaea, 8.5K, 28% owned. He looks good. He's been pitching very, very well over the last month and a half or so. His strikeout rate has been 33% over his last 5 starts, which is just wild. Did not expect this type of form from Sean Manaea to come, but hey, here we are. He has a 3.92 FIP over his last 20, 3.61 over his last 5. K rate's been solid. He's in a good spot versus Washington. I do have to warn, though, that versus lefties, they are hitting 272 with a 189 ISO and a 334 WOBA over the last 20 games. So they have been much better versus lefties. But over the last 150 games, they haven't been great. 253 average, 126 ISO, 302 WOBA. Now, there are several prospects that wouldn't be in that data, and so that is likely part of the reason why they've been so much better recently. Dylan Cruz, James Wood, both factor into that big time. They're hitting the heart of the lineup, and definitely help that team as a whole. So maybe not as good of a matchup as you would assume just by seeing the team's name. Other things, Washington has actually done decent versus them. Earlier this year, though, he did go 7 innings, 1 earned run, 5 Ks. It's last year that he really got beat up by Washington. But look, he's a different pitcher this year. We got a 28.8% combined K rate at 8.5, 2.5x value. He's in a great spot. I don't see why you wouldn't want to take him a little bit. Next, we got Shota Amanga. 4.34 FIP over his last 20, 4.84 over his last 5, K rate in that 24% range. He's in a good spot versus Oakland, who hasn't been good versus lefties. They have been hot lately, but mainly versus righties, not so much versus lefties. I don't mind the spot for Shota, but I do think there are probably a couple better spots to go. I don't mind him. I just think the ownership is a little bit high. Next, we got Paul Skeens. Skeens over his last 5 is back to being extremely dominant. 2.37 FIP over his 5, 32% K rate in both his last 5 and the last 20. And over the last 20, a 2.66 FIP. So he has been extremely well. The StatCast data is amazing. He's averaging 24% more fantasy points away. And he's in a good matchup versus the Cardinals, who 127 ISO, 310 WOBA over the last 20 games versus righties, 263 average. So, the average is decent, but WOBA, power, those numbers are lacking, and he's been solid for BVP number versus them as well. And we got a 26% combined K rate at the spot. So I like Skeens. I would rather him over Shota, but really both are in good spots. Next, we got Reed Detmers. Detmers should absolutely be higher owned than he currently is. 7,700, 2.4x. The guy has been dealing since he came up, and we've seen him have stretches where he is very, very good. This is one of those sections. Look, he's faced 2 good offenses. Dodgers, 6 innings, 2 earned runs, 10 Ks. Minnesota Twins, 6 innings, 2 earned runs, 8 Ks. Now he gets the joke Chicago White Sox, who are just awful. They have a .068 ISO over the last 20 games versus lefties to go with a 266 WOBA and a 230 average. I love the spot for Reed Detmers, and I think he should be higher owned than he is. If he gets super, super high and it looks like he's going to be, 40% owned or something, then I might back off of him a bit just because we do know he is inconsistent and he'll have brilliant stretches and then get found out a little bit. And then he'll have to adjust, and he just isn't good at that second adjustment. But for now, he's locked in and he's in a great spot. Next, we got Seth Lugo versus the Detroit Tigers. Lugo's been dealing 2.16 over his last 5 starts. That is his FIP to go along with 26% K rate. And now he's in a decent spot versus the Tigers. Tigers been hitting all right lately, but I love the spot for him, and I don't mind going with Seth Lugo at home. 24.7% combined K rate for a guy that can work very deep into games. 8.7K, 2.2x. I like the spot. Next, we got Yamamoto versus the Braves. 2.52 FIP so far this season. 1.35 over his last 5 starts with a 32% K rate. He has been dealing. He's in a decent spot. Braves haven't been great versus righties. 234 average and a 145 ISO, 305 WOBA over the last 20 games. This is not the Atlanta Braves that we expected this year, and somehow they possibly could still make the playoffs, even with all their injuries and the offense just being a shell of its former self. It's just their pitching has been so good. Do I mind Yamamoto? Nope, not at all. I think they're in a great spot. I don't mind taking some Yamamoto. We got Fried on the other side. We only have a 7.5 game total. Runs in this game are going to be hard to come by. Do not mind some Yamamoto, and he's probably going under-owned in this spot. Another guy that I think is very interesting and going under-owned, yes, I am saying an AZ pitcher is going under-owned. At 6.8K, I might have some Merrill Kelly. Now, there is some warning here. We have the total's been bouncing between 11 and 11.5. The wind is blowing out hard. The weather is warmish. He's averaging 28% less fantasy points away. But this Colorado lineup is very bad. 28% K rate versus righties. However, they are much better in Colorado. But this is why I'm a little bit interested. He faced Colorado earlier in the year, put up 16 in Colorado. Last year, put up 28 in Colorado. Year before, 20 in Colorado. He has had success in Colorado. He is a very good pitcher. He has struggled a little bit this season. However, he's had 2 starts back, went 7 innings, 2 earned runs, 8 Ks. Well, sorry, actually more than 2. He's had, a handful. 7 innings, 2 earned runs, 8 Ks, and then 4 innings, 3 earned run, 3 Ks. So not great versus Texas. Solid versus the Giants. Got lit up against the Dodgers a little bit, but I think he's rounding back into form, and he is a pitcher that we saw huge upside with last year and was priced in like the 9 Ks. I am absolutely willing to go to a super low owned Merrill Kelly, try and get 20 out of him from at 6.8K, and be able to stack some bats if you want, or take any of the higher priced pitchers and stack bats. I think it's an interesting way to go, and it's going to get you way different. There are a ton of pitchers to like though today. So another way you could get different is go Aaron Savali, but I don't like this spot versus the Phillies quite as much. Phillies have started heating up again, but Savali has pitched very well with the Brewers. 3.82 FIP, 21% K rate. Don't mind it because he's only 6.6K, but I don't love the spot. After that, I'm not really feeling anybody. I think we got to talk about Max Fried a little bit just because he's such a good pitcher. 3.34 FIP, 3.5 over the last 20. That K rate's in the 23 range. He's done very well versus the Dodgers. they're only hitting 190 off him and 62% plate attempts. Bad thing is he's been worse at home. And if you check out what he's done, he went 7 innings, 4 earned runs, 7 Ks versus the Dodgers earlier this year. Last year, 7 innings, 0 earned runs, 10 Ks. Had a couple good spots in 2022 versus them. He's done well versus them. And if you go back to, 2022, really the only difference from this team, big difference, they have Ohtani, but they still had, then say Freddie and Mookie and Muncy and, a lot of the same guys, but obviously Ohtani changes things. But all in all, I think Fried's an interesting super pivot if you want to make it. Dodgers have been slumping a little bit lately, and Fried is a very, very good pitcher. Outside of that, I'm kind of over all the other pitchers. Spencer Arrighetti, not much upside versus the Padres. Yu Darvish, not much upside versus the Astros. So let's go over to FanDuel and check ownership over here. With high-owned, Shota, 9.9K, 37%. Reed Detmers is next, 8.5K, 4.2X, and 30% owned. And then we got Seth Lugo at only 12%, followed by Paul Skeens at 11.5. Look, Skeens, he's going low owned. His projection's not super high. The consensus agrees, and so he's probably overpriced. Then you have Yamamoto at only 9K, second highest projection. I would be pretty interested in Yamamoto in this spot on FanDuel as far as a low-owned pivot that could really crush for you. All in all, I would be pretty much sticking to Sean Manaea, Yamamoto, Skeens, Lugo, Detmers, Amanga on FanDuel. So one of those would be one of the guys I would go with, and then just kind of mix and match it. Sean Manaea is in a great spot, but 10.8K is a lot for him. Don't know if I want to pay there. Shota, I don't mind, but really of those, say, 6 pitchers, Shota's the spot that I question the most. He just hasn't been quite as consistent as the other. He does have that 50-point upside that you want, but we also see a lot of, low 20 outings from him where he just kind of doesn't have his stuff and gets crushed a little bit, or he doesn't have that strikeout upside that we're used to and just can't really do it. Oakland, they can get hot, they can hit, so I don't really love that spot at that ownership. All right, let's get over to some stacks here and see what we have. So our highest ceiling for the day is the Cubs versus Joey Estes. Surprising it's not a Colorado game bat, but Joey Estes, 4.4 FIP, both over the last 20 and over the last 5. Don't mind going there. The Cubs have been hot a little bit. Diamondbacks are an obvious spot. Sentenzella is the pitcher. He has a 5.3 FIP over his last 5, 4.45 over his last 20. Don't mind picking on them. Brew Crew versus Ranger Suarez popping a little bit. Suarez has started pitching better, so I don't love picking on him as he is a very good pitcher that limits runs. And then the highest projected owned for is obviously going to be the Diamondbacks. Diamondbacks are in a great spot. Now, I know I said that I like Merrill Kelly as a pitcher, and I do, but I do think that you can absolutely have some Colorado. It's an 11-point game. It is the highest total by a ton. While I love having some Kelly for that leverage, I think having some Colorado bats in different lineups makes some sense as well. Now, our highest projected is obviously Arizona. Arizona is going to be there in a better spot than Colorado, and that total is just huge, so not surprised there. Highest value, we got White Sox versus Reed Detmers. As I have talked about, look, guy has been pitching brilliantly lately, but he is inconsistent, and we've seen him get lit up before. Could it happen today? Absolutely, and that saves you a bunch of money with some White Sox stacks. Now, I don't love 5-man stacks, but if Detmers really gets blown up, that's how it's going to be. And when I say I don't love 5-man stacks, I don't love 5-man stacks of White Sox. I absolutely adore 5-man stacks, just not teams like the White Sox. Now, highest implied run total, we got Arizona at 6, Colorado at 5. Both of those are very interesting. Then all the way down at 4.5 is the Angels versus Jonathan Cannon, who hasn't been great, and a poor bullpen behind him. We got KC versus Detroit. Not sure who they're throwing out there today at 4.4. Cubs at 4.3. Milwaukee 4.3. Phillies at 4.3. Padres at 4.3. Mets at 4.2, all of which are heavily in consideration. I don't really love going with Atlanta. I don't love going with the Dodgers. When we're down this low, I really want some sort of leverage in my lineup, and I just don't think the Dodgers or Braves really give it to you. And White Sox would give you some leverage. Washington would. Oakland would. All three of those, I think, are fairly interesting. Only as leverage pieces. I would not go hard with stacking those teams, but a little bit here and there is fine. My main exposure will be to Arizona, Colorado, KC, the Angels a bit, the Cubs, likely where most of my ownership is going to be, and then maybe a little bit of the Phillies as well. All right, guys, that will do it for us today. You have a good one. Enjoy Monday Night Football. Enjoy some Monday baseball. We're coming down to the wire here. Only a few more weeks of good old baseball before the playoffs. Have a good one, guys. Good luck. Let's make some money. Peace.